Hey everyone, this is Stevie Richards. Welcome back to the home studio. And welcome to this solo YouTube exclusive here at the Stevie Richards Show. James will not be joining me. He's off supervising an ever-growing construction crew on his property. By the way, that's a popular topic in the comments on his James Romero channel. Please subscribe to that channel as well as his brand new channel. I've been really enjoying all the content on there. List Mania Wrestling. Check both out and subscribe to both. Hopefully you're subscribed here. I hope you are. If you aren't, please subscribe and click the bell to get notified. So let's focus on Ridge Holland, who's been in the news all week. By the way, I'm referring to James's notes, so I'm going to use that as bullet points. I borrowed his notes, so let's go right here. So if you don't know, Ridge Holland basically had been, I guess, shipped off to the NXT brand, also working TNA. We're going to get to that part. But basically, he was working in the NXT. And before that, you probably know him better on the main roster as part of the Brawling Brutes, along with Pete Dunne and Sheamus. So basically, how did he get to NXT? How was he working at TNA? Why was he not on the main roster, at least recently? That's because about a year ago, WWE, I should say TKO, because I think they're responsible for this new trend. Hopefully not too much of a trend, but I see this happening more often. So during this video, I'm going to give my personal insights, experiences, and how WWE back then had dealt with things, and now TKO, along with WWE, are dealing with talent and how they released them, or more specifically and accurately with this, when they released them. So basically about a year ago, he was on the cusp of being cut from WWE. Base downsides, at least what James had said in some talent, base downsides are $350,000 a year. Back when I wrestled, they were $75,000 a year. So accounting for inflation and probably a much heavier workload, at least from what I've seen over the past couple of years. He took a $200,000 pay cut down to $150,000 a year as kind of like a one-year extension to his contract. Not kind of, exactly what it was, a one-year contract. So I'm going to get in the head of Ridge Holland as a former talent and how he is a current talent, and myself kind of being in that situation of having your pay cut, much like when I went from the main roster after Right to Censor and down to HWA, OVW Developmental. They had cut what was supposed to be $125,000 pay jump from 75 in my third year and cut me back down to 75, kind of to prove it. So Ridge Holland was accepting this one-year extension at the $200,000 a year pay cut down to $150 as a prove-it deal. Now, that's good money, but when you're paying your expenses, taxes, all that stuff, it gets whittled away very quickly. Nonetheless, I see what Ridge Holland was trying to do. Okay, if you basically cut my pay down to $150, I'm in NXT and then maybe TNA, obviously working together during the course of that year, I will get over, you will bring me back to the main roster, and hopefully I'll go back up to $350 or even more. Basically, Ridge Holland was betting on himself, and TKO, WWE were probably like, yeah, stick around for a year, we'll work you as much as we want, and at the end of the year, we're probably going to cut you anyway. That's the way I've looked at it with most talents that have really bet on themselves. Now, it didn't happen to me because my pay was so low, and I came back losing a ton of weight, brand new coat of paint on me, and bought myself time. All we're ever doing as talents is buying ourselves another week, another month, however long, usually week to week. So basically, he went down there to prove it. That's me speaking for him, but I know the way talent thinks. I got to basically get myself over to the point where they can't fire me, and also maybe push me back up to 350 or more, or go back to the main roster for an opportunity. So basically in the past few months, NXT and TNA have been feuding with one another in an interpromotional deal that sees TNA stars go to NXT and the other way around. Joe Henry is one of the few that have done that, as well as the main roster WrestleMania match against Randy Orton. He pops up. I said his name. I don't see him anywhere. So doesn't work here in the studio. Sorry, Joe. So basically what happened was he suffered an injury wrestling Moose on a TNA show. And it's a pretty, you might think, well, a foot injury is no big deal. A Liz Frank injury is. Now, I had something similar back in January 1999 when I got thrown out of the ring by Chris Jericho during a segment where I was actually imitating Elvis and serenading China, if you can believe that. So threw me out, freak injury, nobody's fault. I ended up with a Jones fracture, needed surgery. I was out for almost, I'd say at least 7, 8 months at the least, because the foot is just, it's like breaking your fingers, bones in your hand, but the feet, especially for wrestlers, football players, any athletes where you need to run, you need to put pressure down, pivot, do lateral movements, whatever it might be. Even just sitting here and planting my foot down, Liz Frank or Jones fracture injury is so painful and takes actually a ton of time to heal. That Jones fracture injury I suffered took longer to recover from than my fusion surgery on my neck. So that gives you an idea about the foot, and stuff like that can really just bog you down. Just give you a little bit of detail and context about that. Now, the Liz Frank injury, basically the recovery time is at least 6 months, possibly or even longer. Down there, it could be 12 to 18 months with that. So small bones in a foot, stuff like that, they take an immense amount of time to heal. And you don't realize how much you use them until you get a Liz Frank or Jones fracture injury. So the controversy here is that before WWE informed Ridge that his contract would not be renewed, he injured his foot. So he injured his foot before they were going to release him with that. Now, I'm not sure. I'm going to look at this because Ridge actually stated something publicly which may have accelerated or caused the release. So basically, not renewed while injured, a big faux pas. Usually in WWE, back when I wrestled, it seems to be kind of going away. But basically, the only time they did it was to test in 2004 when he has severe neck injury, which also required surgery. So it's not the first time. There might be times even before that, or even before the guaranteed money days, things like that, that they would just not book you. They won't release you, but they won't book you. Now, the usual way, and James has informed me in AEW that Tony Khan had extended Ray Phoenix's deal because of injury. I remember, I believe Drew was injured and had his deal extended years and years back. This is not an uncommon thing to extend a contract due to injury, which is really kind of there's a weird personal thing that's not here right now that TKO, maybe to make an example out of Ridge, or they had something where they just wanted to get rid of him and they wanted any reason, even the tiniest of reason, if not a big reason, to get rid of him. So basically what James says in his notes, and I agree with this, TKO, WWE doing record numbers, record business, record income. They don't talk about the attendance. They talk about the gate. They talk about how much money they made. So with that being said, now we have some 1984, if I can say it with my Philly accent, double speak, double think. We're making a ton of money, man, but we got to cut costs. And I still contend, and I stand by my prediction that in any place in corporate America, by the way, this happens too. So we're going to give that analogy, but they're trying to make as much money as they can, and they're trying to offload any liabilities, meaning salaries, costs, or anything like that, to be set up to be sold to the Saudis. Maybe as early as Royal Rumble this year, which is in Saudi Arabia, or my prediction is at the very latest, WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia. That's when they're going to announce that Saudi Arabia now owns TKO, Endeavor, WWE, all the above, UFC maybe, all this stuff underneath the TKO umbrella. That is my prediction. So looking at this, basically Vince McMahon, not that Vince McMahon was any better. He fired people while they're on the shelf, fired people for being pregnant, or even because they got pregnant, and so much more besides. New boss, same as the old boss. So Vince had a strange way of not wanting to do that. He was very weird. The duplicity or the bipolar nature of Vince McMahon could be the most generous person in the world while also being the most greedy and heartless at the same time. He's crazy. He's a maniac. So we all are in wrestling. So it happens. So we're going down here. So basically, Ridge Holland, here's the next thing. He also may require a neck operation at some point as well. So he has a neck injury in WWE. His WWE run was marred with injury and misfortune. But now it gets worse because basically they outright fired him for breaching his clause. He talked bad about the company. So that is very, that's where I don't know how many talent meetings that Ridge Holland has sat in on. My guess is hundreds. And I don't know how many internal or even external, I might turn from internal to external eye rolls and sighs whenever Johnny A said, hey, we're just a big family. We're just a family. You can come to us for anything. Well, they're a family when you treat it like a business. And then when you do something and you take something personally because you put your heart into this, your soul, blood, sweat, and tears, and you air any kind of frustration. Now, Rich Holland went to social media, apparently. That's a no-no. But even if you go outwardly and voice your concern, voice your frustration, then it's a business. Then you're violating business, and they need to, as NFL would say, protect the shield. They need to protect the brand. So that doesn't help Rich Holland, or maybe he wanted to accelerate it. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it. He's part of a family of 5. He has kids. It's just like Heath Slater. So let's go over to the story here of Rich Holland not having his contract renewed. I got to get my glasses out for this because it's serious business. But basically, Rich Holland has announced that WWE will not be renewing his contract, which is set to expire on November 14th. The news comes just weeks after Holland suffered a serious Liz Frank foot injury while competing for TNA Wrestling as part of the WWE TNA crossover storyline. In a social media post, this is a mistake, Holland revealed the news and expressed his frustration with the timing as he'll be unable to work for the next 6 months while he recovers, leaving him in a difficult financial position with a family of 5 to support. Quote, I've been informed that WWE will not be renewing my contract when it ends on November 14th, Holland wrote. WWE are still going to cover my rehab from injury, but my guaranteed pay will end. Quite frustrating to say the least that I cannot work for another 6 months due to the aforementioned injury, with a family of 5 to support. My career with WWE has been blighted by misfortune, but I'm still thankful and grateful for the opportunity and experience. The shining light that has always kept me going is the huge support from a handful of special human beings. Thank you. So basically included this post by looking forward to the future, both in and out of the ring. Quote, I'm unsure what lies ahead of me in terms of wrestling, but going forward, I will be working hard to heal up. And in that time, I will be launching my own online coaching business. So stay tuned. Cheers. So the injury occurred at a TNA television taping in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, during a match against Moose. Holland landed awkwardly and suffered a Liz Frank injury, a complex and serious injury to the midfoot that requires surgery on October 1st. And he's a former rugby player, signed with WWE 2018, competed all across the company brands, including NXT UK, the main roster, and revived Evolve brand. And we wish him a speedy recovery. Let's go to the next website here. Report WWE terminated Ridge Holland's contract early after he criticized the company. So yesterday, Ridge Holland, real name Luke Menzies, I believe, vented his spleen. That's a James Romero line on social media about how WWE totally effed him thanks to their decision not to renew his contract while he is out injured and possibly needs neck fusion surgery. That's on top of the foot injury. Wow. Holland recently had foot surgery after suffering an injury while working a match for WWE and TNA. With his contract apparently set to expire mid-November, November 14th, Holland felt like he was hung out to dry by the company, expressed financial concerns for his family due to the way WWE handled the situation because he can't wrestle for at least the next 7 months while sidelined with these injuries. It might be a year with the neck injury. That's, man, if you want to be safe. I came back early from my neck injury like 5 months because I needed the money, and that's back in 1999. So it was pretty tough. Well, the WWE decided to rub salt in the wounds after seeing those comments. I don't know why I emphasize that. According to a new report from Fightful Select, the outlet says WWE reacted to his social media comments by terminating him early due to breach of contract. I guess this kind of crappy experiment on the wrestlers that WWE can get away with due to the lack of a union, among other things. The thing is with that, here's the deal. This is just my way of looking at all this. By the way, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to corporate America, working for anybody else. You are basically forced to grin F it in a way and grin F them because they're grin Fing you every second of your time's there. And basically we all have a shelf life. We're all going to be fired eventually from WWE outside of Triple H and maybe a couple other people. But Ridge Holland, this is what it just gets me with this company, the duplicitous nature of it and the phony, hypocritical nature of TKO and WWE. So basically, we're going to do the crappy thing to you, Ridge Holland, or anybody else. We're going to do the crappy thing to you. We're going to treat you a certain way. But then you're going to tell us or tell the world that we're treating you that way. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to treat you even worse. How dare you point out the fact that we're treating you bad? Now we're going to treat you bad. And for people, I've seen comments on James's video and other people, and even Ben Hameen has stated in the past that this is bad PR, that TKO and WWE don't want the bad PR. I'm here to tell everybody right now, and this is also corporate America or anybody else or government or any people that claims they care what everybody thinks. TKO, WWE, corporate America, or any of the above that you want to put into this position, they do not care. The ticket prices show they don't care what you think. The milking of everything shows they don't care what you think. Specifically to the UK, European fans that want a WrestleMania, they don't care what you think. We're going to serve Saudi Arabia, the government of Saudi Arabia. Turkey likes that. Turkey doesn't care. TKO doesn't care. Ari Manuel doesn't care. Triple H doesn't care. Triple H plays the good cop. We used to do that back in the day when JR was talent relations. He was the bad cop. And then Vince or other people were the good cops. It's all a game. It's all a work. But what's real is the fact that Ridge Holland spoke his mind, and now people are looking at Ridge Holland probably within the company outside like, oh, well, you deserve what you get because you opened your mouth. How dare you open your mouth and say how you feel? Now I'm going to tell Ridge Holland, too, when he talks about family of five, all that stuff, the company, the fans, nobody cares. Take care of your own business. I hope your coaching business is very, very successful. I hope you're blessed with more success than you ever had in rugby or professional wrestling, because now it's up to you. It's terrifying yet exciting. Every day you wake up, it's up to you, which I said is terrifying because it's up to you, but it's also exciting because there's no ceiling because it's all up to you. So I'm just saying on the TKO WWE front, for people that are going to be outraged about it, they've already forgotten about the WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia to some degree, and people have lives to lead. People have troubles of their own. People have to worry about their own jobs in corporate America or running their own business in this economy and the things going on in the world. So TKO will not be held accountable for this. As a matter of fact, my prediction is, or my thought on the current thing is that they sent a message to all the talent out there. Same thing with Killer Cross or anybody else. They just sent a message to all the talent. Keep your mouth shut. Even if we release you, keep your mouth shut if you want to get paid for however long. Now they're covering the rehab, the surgeries and everything. If they really wanted to be truly petty, they could turn around and say, you didn't wrestle on one of our shows, even though they have the working relationship with TNA. Now, if you got hurt in NXT, I can understand, it's all under the same umbrella. TNA, they could split hairs and say, no, we're working with them, but we don't own TNA. That's an independent. You're on your own. Yeah, you're on your own, pal, as Vince would say. So I don't want to be too negative about it. I just want to be real and just say that WWE and TKO, they don't care about you. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the wrestlers. They don't care anything except for that. They don't care about anything but the almighty dollar, and that's fine. It's up to you if you really are outraged or you feel like this is something beyond the pale or the Saudi Arabia or the ticket price or anything. Stop watching. Stop buying tickets. Stop going to the show. Maybe people are starting to listen to themselves. 4,200 people for SmackDown. I had Saturday night's main event the next night, but I'm sure the tickets for SmackDown and Saturday night's main event were not cheap. So people had to choose one or the other, or guess what? None, because it's on basically cable or free TV. So Ridge Holland, I'll end with this. there is hope out there. There is a path for success and happiness beyond anything you could have believed or even like thought of or imagined when you were in the wrestling bubble. Trust me, on the other side, anybody out there who is getting released from wrestling, worried about wrestling, not making money in wrestling, if I can do this thing and I can make somewhat of a living off it, anybody can. Anybody can choose to do what they want. And the freedom is that you don't have to worry about an agent, Triple H, TKO, a writer, a stooge, or anybody else trying to keep you down, trying to put the glass ceiling above you, trying to talk about an imaginary brass ring that you'll never be allowed to grab. Now you have an actual brass ring that you can grab. It's up to you, Ridge Holland. And you know what? I'm pulling for you, and I hope everybody else out there is pulling for you. Make WWE look like idiots for releasing you and get so over outside of wrestling that they call you back like a Logan Paul to be a part-timer and pay you more than you ever got paid as a full-time member of the roster. So that's about it. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about my comments, about the Ridge Holland situation, about TKO and WWE, and the way the corporate structure or corporate policy is working. And especially comment below about how you feel about James hiring like every construction crew in England to do work at his house. I imagine as he sits back basically in a gravity chair, sipping some scotch or vodka or like 100-year-old brandy. So leave a comment below.